This is an excerpt from our live stream on Twitch. It's about how to invest over the next 6 to 12 months. Nothing in this should be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell. We're just talking about the education of it. See you guys. Oh, we can talk about our innovation acceleration. Millennial?
Millennial? The global ruralization theory? Yeah, I'm all about that. I
Yeah,
love
but
GRT.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love GRT. GRT is not a ticker, by the way, you degens. You can't trade it. It's a theory that everybody is going to move out of urban centers and expand more into the massive geographic landscape that is the US because nobody wants to be close to COVID. But with digital innovation, we don't need to be in urban centers anymore. We can be remote and still operate. So, yeah, this is a fun conversation. I love this
I
one.
know. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm liking this. I'm liking it. So
So,
I
can we
think
set a ground rule of like let's not call out specific stocks. Let's speak to the industries as a whole, and that way
okay.
we avoid actually calling out like. So in the example of Intel or WDC, we're not going to speak to an individual stock's performance, but we'll speak to semiconductors per se.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That sounds fine. Can I use anecdotal evidence from companies though? Like,
Yeah, yeah, but not like don't make a claim for that company. Just like this is what we're seeing from this company, so we suspect that this might be true of the industry as a whole.
makes sense. Okay, so Batman set us on a course, and we're going to talk about global realization theory. I think the basis of this is fundamental in human behavior in that uh, the change in habits is permanent. That we are going to fundamentally want to stay at home. I think
And and I agree. I'm with Martini on that. Where my basis is that fear is always stronger than greed. Self-preservation always trumps desire.
that yeah, COVID is kind of people are being let outside, but it just doesn't. I don't think it matters, right? And I think it plays. There's a couple things that play into it. Behavior, right? He Millennial talked about fear, right? So behavior is down to emotions, right? Fear. Um, I think part of it is stress, right? It's fucking stressful to go outside. You gotta wipe everything. You gotta make sure you don't fucking touch your face. You got a mask on, and so now you can't see people's emotions through that mask. You know what I mean? Like everything in our entire lives told us that when somebody's wearing a mask, that you should fear that, right? Think about it. You see a mask going into a store. What's the first thing? Someone's gonna rob the store, right? Um, put puts on tinfoil Alex Jones approved hat. Oh, look, I have a tin hat. It's all ready for you guys.
You guys officially get that when you buy a Bitcoin. They send you one of those.
Thanks, asshole.
You're welcome. I'm not wrong.
I know. I went full tin hat and started freaking out about 3 weeks ago about all the shit that was happening. Uh, Financially speaking, about what was happening, not necessarily that COVID was happening, right? We'll talk about Bitcoin. I'll put it here. So we can get to it. But let's talk about the people. I think it's stressful. I think it's. I think there's a second thing that's happening, which is incentives, right?
Yeah, I think ultimately all of this concept of the GRT builds off of Laszlo's hierarchy of needs, right? And this is like, for those of you that don't understand group psychology, even just basic psychology, Laszlo's hierarchy is crucial if you're going to trade FA in the market.
It's been a long time since I've talked about that. Laszlo's hierarchy of needs. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me look up an image and paste in.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like, this is super simple.
Okay.
So the idea, guys, with Laszlo's hierarchy is a psychological construct that this is how every human being operates. And just like a pyramid, just like any building, the bottom must be satisfied before you move up to the next level, because without it, the next level just crumbles and falls. And so what you start with are the basic essentials. And when you look at the market today, that's where we are. So scrap everything from the bottom up. Physiological needs are the big concern that we're focusing on in the market. So when people are talking about what is doing really well in the market right now, well, let's look at the stocks that are performing very well. It's consumer staples, right? Amazon's crushing it. Costco, Walmart. Those are your physiological needs: food, clothing. What we're moving into with economic lockdown is the next step, which is the safety needs.
Hold
We're
on, hold
looking at
on.
biopharmaceuticals.
Let's
Yep.
start. Consumer staples. Okay, they may not know what that really means. So, inside the S&P 500, every industry is named something, right? So, if you go right here to the S&P 500, there's like a little visualized chart, and they've broken down all of them into standardized industrial names, right? So here he makes the term consumer staples, and you can see all the ones that are in here, right? So you don't have to think about what are consumer staples. You can just hit this, and then there's different subcategories: beverages, food and staples, food products, household products, personal products, tobacco, and you can hit each one and they'll tell you. You can even go into the small caps and look at consumer staples in there if you really want to, right? So, hey Slinger. So, if you guys, this is a really easy way to kind of go and look up what he's talking about.
Yeah, so that's the basics. That's your physiological needs. So you need to eat, you need to have clothing, you need to have housing. So we see Home Depot do well, we see Walmart do well, we see Costco do well on that. Safety needs is the next one, and that's where biopharmaceuticals are doing quite well right now. That's where we see things like Abbott, testing, anything that is COVID related doing quite well, because we are moving into economic reopening, which means people are going to be more reliant on safety measures.
Reproduction is in physiological needs. So, would Match Group be down there?
No. Reproduction falls actually into the third tier of Laslow's hierarchy: love and belonging, which we're actually surprisingly going to get to after we tackle safety, because JMB is a huge play 12 to 14 months out, and there's interesting FA on that. But love and belonging is not based on physiological needs. It is based on something that is only there after you've satisfied: I'm not starving to death, I'm not dying of thirst, I'm not cold and freezing, and safety needs of a bear is not eating me and I am not dying of COVID. Then you're like, okay, now what can I bang? That comes after those first two.
What about property? See, it says
Property is
property.
under shelter. Yep.
Shelter.
Property is
Okay, shelter
it's
is
a
property.
physiological need first. Basic shelter. So like I need a tent. Safety needs is like I need more than a tent because a bear can break through a tent.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Sorry, this is new for me too, so you're gonna have to bear with me.
Nah, bear.
Bear, bear, bear gang for life. Nah, bull gang. Fuck that.
Right. So on the fall, what we saw yesterday with Martini was teaching us about inverse beta relationships. A lot of consumer staples have an inverse beta relationship with the SPY,
Ooh,
which means
yeah.
that if the SPY goes down, it doesn't freaking matter because they go up as the most essential needs.
Negative beta. So we're gonna write that because that's important, right? A lot of people will cycle into consumer staple stocks to be right. They say defensive, right? It's a defensive position in your portfolio because it's not necessarily going to make you a ton of money. It's not really a growth kind of thing. It's a defensive play inside your portfolio. And the reason I use finance terms is because so when you go and research something, you know what they're actually talking about because they use all these words and nobody knows what they're fucking talking about. And sometimes it's bullshit, but this is so that way you know.
I would say too, you're not going to see necessarily negative beta. It may be negative, it may be neutral, but they're more disconnected. Bio operates independent of the SPY. It's not, there is no direct correlation between the two. And that's one of the reasons why I trade so heavily in beta on equity, is because it's isolated from the market. It operates on different principles. So I don't know that you're going to see on safety as the second tier as being necessarily negative, low, or neutral beta. It's just it operates independently of the SPY. Merck going up or down today has nothing to do with the tech sector or the overall performance of the SPY. It has everything to do with Merck's pipeline. So they're independent of a relationship or correlation with the SPY.
What's XLP? Is that an index for a certain?
Yeah, it's an index for an industry.
I know XLF is the financials, but consumer staples ETF. Nice, nice. I like that green screens. Doesn't mean that internet
Yeah,
has to be
actually,
everywhere now.
if you go into your COIFIN,
Mhm.
the main dashboard on today's markets, next to every equity sector, you'll see the ticker for an ETF representing that sector. So consumer staples is XLP, communications is XLC, finance is XLF, tech is XL.
U.S. sectors, I think, is where you were. Yeah.
No, you're there. Go up to today's markets on the right there, and then
Got
on
it.
the left you see equity sectors.
Mhm.
Each of those sectors has an ETF that represents what it's doing.
So communications, consumer discretionary went up. Materials, healthcare, technology, and energy, real estate, financials, and utilities suck today.
Yeah, so like we're currently with Operation Warp Speed. We are recognizing that we are in that safety mode right now. So people that want to be innovators or forward thinkers, what you're looking at if you're trading similar to what I'm doing, where you're looking a couple quarters ahead, you're acknowledging that safety is a priority, but we're moving into the next tier of Maslow's hierarchy as we reopen, which is
Love and belonging.
mm-hmm.
Friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection.
So this means travel tourism. This
Travel.
means entertainment.
Okay, does that include streaming entertainment or a
Entertainment,
different kind of entertainment, like restaurants,
movie theaters, casinos.
movies? Okay. Hey, Knuck Luck. Is Tinder public? It is. It's MTCH. Is it the ticker?
And
Match
that's
Group
going to
owns
be
them.
it. Yep, that's going to be a big one. Like Pfizer's going to be a big deal. Viagra's going to be in high demand.
That's
But
terrible.
this also touches to what we were talking to earlier of typically following a major crisis, whether it's war or disease, what we see 11 to 14 months afterwards is a massive baby boom. This is statistic. This is every single major humanitarian crisis for the last 1,000 years. After war or disease at a large scale, 11 to 14 months afterwards, you see a massive spike in births, which makes larger positions like KMB, which is known for its involvement in the baby industry, a significant play. It makes plays like Pfizer or Tinder or I don't know, Meetup or whatever you. I've been married too long. I'm out of the loop on that. But
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that's bad. Uh,
whatever you young pups with your dating do these days, swipe
young.
right
Did you just
and
call them young pups? Can I get a boomer in chat? Jesus.
Never trifecta. I married the perfect woman. I would never consider it.
I'm using the chat to troll you. How do you feel?
I feel fantastic.
He's like, I don't give a fuck. That's one thing you'll learn about millennial. He doesn't give a fuck. That's true.
Okay, so
Simply put.
that's love and belonging. So if we're
Okay.
gonna put timelines next to these, like consumer staples was February through March.
Okay.
We can say Q2 to early Q3 is going to be step two.
Q2 through what was it?
Early Q3, first half Q3.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, these start to escalate. As you get more and more comfortable and you realize that those basics are covered, you start to really spearhead through the pyramid, which is why the pyramid gets smaller as you go up, right? Laszlo didn't make a business building, he made a pyramid. Because as you move up, they get smaller and smaller and smaller because things happen faster and faster and faster. So Q3, second half of Q3 and into the first half of Q4, that's where we're going to see love and belonging really take hold.
So
And this
there's
is
an acceleration. Acceleration. Oh, I can't type today. Look at my fucking hand. My hand's getting tired. Acceleration into the pyramid. Okay.
and so this is really great news because traditionally in the financial industry, what happens Q4?
Christmas shit?
Right, Christmas. We see a massive boom, and Christmas is driven by greed. We want to get the market to greed by Q4. And currently, what we're seeing is that this is mapping to that. When love and belonging take hold, the market transitions from greed or from fear to greed. From am I safe to gimme, gimme, gimme.
Gimme, gimme, gimme. So around Q4, get into the Vegas hotels. Was casinos in here? Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to see gambling take an uptick. You're going to see people going to movie theaters. You're going to see a lot of dating. You're going to see a lot of restaurants getting the plus from that. You're going to see a lot of buying. So things that haven't necessarily been on the uptick in a while are going to see a lot more. Just frivolous buying. So things that aren't necessarily needed, but things that are wanted.
So this is greed wants. Okay.
So the large cautionary red tag that we need to put on the end of this is into January and February, so Q1 2021, what traditionally happens in January and February?
What was four? Esteem? Are we into four, or are we just into a different time?
We will not get to four, is what my theory is on this.
Ah, okay. So Q1 2021. Okay. Should I just put in it will not get to four?
Yep.
What is four? Esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom. What is that in terms of markets?
So when you start getting into esteem and freedoms, you start looking at rights. And so you would see companies that have union support, you would start to see unions take hold again. You would start to see that kind of political measure happen. We will not get to four because of what traditionally happens January through February into early March,
Mhm.
which is flu season. Yay!
Oh, it has starts all over. Oh
So
fuck.
the way that Laszlo's hierarchy works is this: you are allowed to keep moving up the pyramid so long as the bottom tiers don't fall into jeopardy. The second one of the lower tiers falls into jeopardy, you revert back down to that tier to resolve the issue and then start moving back up.
Wait, say that again. So we're gonna go moving back up.
So what happens is Q3, Q4, everybody's gonna go, it's Christmas, people are buying, we're having romances in the air, people
Mhm.
are banging like rabbits, everything is good. Oh wait, flu season's back, and we still don't have a vaccine. We still have people sick with COVID. Now we have a resurgence. Hopefully it's COVID-19, but maybe it's COVID-20. Who knows what
Mhm.
else is going to come down the pipeline because we've been cutting corners on all of our biopharma. So what happens in Q1 is we revert back to the initial step. We go back to safety. We go
Okay.
back to our am I being fed and am I sick, our physiological needs. We never get to go to self esteem because we're right back to worrying about am I going to die?
Okay. Canuck, just to TLDR you and catch you up, we're looking at Laszlo's hierarchy of needs in terms of how that's going to, each stage is going to play out in the next year or so, and that, what are the sectors that we're going to possibly see changes in especially relation to these different industries. Predicting another crash in Jan, Duke says.
No. So the big difference between Q1 2021 and Q1 of this year is we got caught with our pants down, bent over, reaching for the soap. Nobody was
Okay.
prepared for this. Nobody had systems in place. Nobody had PPE in place. We had no idea what the economy should be doing in this instance. Now we have case study. Now we have experience. Now we have pipelines flowing on PPE and medical equipment. Now we have vaccine candidates that are more relevant, especially with Operation Warp Speed. I don't think that we see the market decline in the same way. So, not a crash. Do we see a decline? I think so. We see a decline, but we normally would see a decline coming out of Christmas anyway into tax season. So it's not going to be so recognizable. It's not going to be as bad as it was.
Okay.
But we just go back through this process where we're going to build back up. So I don't think we actually see us coming back into that level 2 of Maslow's hierarchy until Q1 2022.
You mean number 4 would be Q1 2020. What was it?
What was
2020?
it? 2.
So we go
So
back
this
through 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's another year. Okay. Warp speed.
Space Force has a flag. We'll all be okay.
Dude, do they mean to make it look like Star Trek? Like,
I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers is going to sue. I'm not even joking. Like that is copyright. Like you legit just stole the Star Trek symbol.
I mean, it's so similar. I mean, I think that's crazy. Another Fed, 9 trillion, nothing bad will happen in 2021. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that inflation is the answer, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here, guys, isn't the economic side of things necessarily. This is more so how does the culture as a whole react at a basic human level to what's going on around them. This is cultural psychology as opposed to an individual. So for all of you that have seen Men in Black, there's a great dialogue that really embodies cultural psychology in that, where you've got J and K talking and Jay saying like, why don't you just tell people that aliens exist? People are smart. And Jay goes, you're right. Or K goes, yeah, you're right. People, an individual person is smart. People are stupid. People act irrationally and drive in masses and follow mob mentality and break down. People cannot be trusted. Person can be trusted. People cannot. That's exactly what this is built on. The idea that cultural psychology will win out. We will see the markets overreact like they have in February and then right back up in March. And this is what this roadmap plans out, is the idea of cultural psychology as a direct effect on the market.
See, like, that statement that you're talking about is so right because, like, me and Goss is my streamer friend who lives here. For you guys that don't know, in the UK, and we had a conversation about this, and I said everyone's freaking out of nothing, and he said yes, and we were thinking about whether we needed to prep or stock up because everything was going crazy here, right? And we looked at each other and said, no, we don't need to, but we have to because everybody else is freaking out.
So, Batman, did we recognize this beforehand? I can't speak to we. I think Martini does some of this just innately. Like she understands playing the market to the long end because she and I are both Buffett fans.
Did you play?
Yeah, no, they're asking if we did this before the market crashed. Did we get in proper positions? Did we inverse? Yada yada yada. So for me, guys, I'm happy to share this. I'm not going to give exact holdings, but my portfolio is up 760% on the year. Um, so yeah, when I play cultural psychology, this is something that I learned long ago. I've got 15 years in business. I understand how this works on a global level. So yeah, I do trade on that. A great book that you guys can read is The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, and this will give you a deeper understanding into exactly how this plays out and why it's important.
What is this called? Culture Code. Uh huh. By what? David. How do you spell
I put it
that?
in chat.
Oh, you put it in
I put
chat.
it in
Okay.
chat. Save your hand.
Thank God. Great. Um, so what I did on this stream is, and it's in that trade journal, so you can see what it is. I was already doing cover calls into Amazon. I kept it because it was Amazon, and I thought everybody's gonna be ordering from home online. And then we entered in a couple more things. We entered in Netflix, Take Two, uh, and one more thing, which I can't, it escapes me at this moment. But I didn't go any of this consumer cyclical route. I just went on the theory that people were going to be inside and stuck, so their behavior was going to change. But remember, my plays are 5 to 10 years. For me, the 5 to 10 year play is that our behavior is going to permanently change because of the incentives of, when you don't have to drive into home every day, it's cheaper. Uh, it's less stress. And also, a business wants you to work from home because then they can let go of their office space and they potentially get more productivity out of you.
And what's interesting is when you're talking about that on a 5 to 10 year, those two bases that you're talking about are 4 and 5 on the pyramid.
Okay, we talked about esteem, but what's
So
five?
So 5 is self-actualization. So esteem is the idea of like I don't need to drive into work because I'm still doing the same thing. I'm stronger, faster, better as a result. Self-actualization is when the entire industry changes and goes, "Oh, we all are better, smarter, faster when we do things this way. We now realize this and through self-actualization, this now becomes the new standard."
Okay, interesting. I think I'm gonna have to read this book. This is really cool. But yeah,
So when I'm doing
that's why I think that's why millennial I are fundamentally different. Is that the time period changes the theory completely.
But when I'm doing my FA, I use this and go, okay, really focus in on where are we right now? Where are we right now? Where are we on this hierarchy? What is coming up? You can either trade immediately in the market if you're a day trader, if you're a swing trader, you have to acknowledge that you're looking probably the next step up into the next couple of quarters. If you're trading 5 to 10 years out, that's a lot more difficult to do on this. But I don't think it's impossible. You just have to be aware that there may be you falling back down to the earlier steps, which may put out your plays a little bit longer. But if you're willing to hold 5 to 10 years, you're more than likely going to see a period of self actualization happen and industry will change over 10 years. When you think back to 10 years ago, smartphones are not what they were today. And that's completely changed the industry, how people.
Yeah, so I look more for behavior change over multiple years, and the theory that I usually work on, because tech is usually where I go, small cap, and I have a lot in large cap, but I like small cap is fun to me, and what you've got is like a cycle, right? First you get your early adopters, right?
Innovators.
Oh, that's even before early adopters, right?
Yeah, that's the beginning of the line. Like that's Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Steve Jobs in a lab before anyone knew who he was. You got so let's draw this. Innovators, early adopters, and you get a little bit more of a decline. Then you get like semi-mainstream, and then you get mainstream, right?
Yeah. Then the neophytes. This is like grandma adopting to Facebook, right? Like that's where we are at that point.
Yeah, neophyte. And when you start to build models for how you think, it makes this shit a lot easier, right? Because it's kind of like it's just predictable patterns that you can start to like eke out of these things. So what is it? Early adopters. What is this point between early adopters and mainstream?
Yeah, so it's innovators, early adopters, late adopters, mainstream, and then the laggards or neophytes. So,
So
like an innovator would be Steve Jobs. Early adopters would be Bill Gates. So you get the iPod with Steve Jobs. You get the Zune with Bill Gates. You realize that mobile music's going to happen. So late adoption would be Napster of like, okay, I can use this tool. After Napster, you're into the mainstream. So you get iTunes. And then neophyte is like grandma is asking you how to get her iPod to work.
yeah, so different things that I would put in these different categories would be innovator is still like like um like the coin industry, right? That's in fucking innovator right
Yep,
now.
yep. That is definitely in Bitcoin. And
Um
I'd say it's approaching early adopters, but we're not quite there yet.
yeah, coin I think is like right here.
It's just trying to take credit for our conversation.
Ugh. But there's so much tech out there that what makes you choose ultimately it's a gamble. Yeah. I mean, trading is a bet, right? The thing is, do you have an edge, right? And this is for me this is my edge is I start to put it uh into different sections. My sweet spot is like right here. This is where I get into shit. Right between early adopters and late adopters.
And then my circle would actually be the step earlier, the innovator to early adopter. So when the thing is still worth $1, that's when I'm there.
You're in fucking this area. Fuck that. You're like over here.
Maybe. I don't know I'm that far ahead because I'm not like I think that circle that you drew is angel investment. That's before it's even a publicly traded company.
Yeah, hitch millennials on the mic. I don't know.
So you know how much time it takes to go from innovation to become an early adopter? I think that's a great question, and the answer is no. And one of the big reasons for that is crisis drives innovation forward by leaps. So without COVID, how long does it take for Beyond Meat to become a staple? It takes it 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
But because we have a meat shortage due to COVID, it's now less than 5 years, right? It's a huge jump ahead.
And I actually think that this distance of time is actually it's actually decreasing as time goes on, right? I don't know. I need to go searching for this, but like I think it's just like Moore's law for semiconductors. I think there's some kind of shit happening with innovation. It's happening quicker than I ever saw it before. Like I feel like it's accelerating. But yeah, I think COVID is going to turn this. I really think COVID is going to turn this from a 1 to 10 year process. I think it's going to be 1 to 5 years. I think literally you've got to cut this shit in half. Yeah, I think it's a giant acceleration event.
So when people are saying, well, is Beyond really going to happen? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. China, who's one of the mass consumers of chicken, right? A lot of people are talking about taking Tyson. Oh, they really like Tyson for chicken. Well, what people don't know is that one of the largest meat producers is actually a privately held company, not public, called Cargill. And Cargill currently has a massive agreement with China to provide not only poultry, but their meatless products. Cargill is closing down a lot of its meat producing plants under the guise of COVID. Meanwhile, they are escalating their R&D and development and pipeline on meatless products because they are cheaper to produce, they are cheaper to streamline, they are cheaper to develop, and you can send more of them to China without implications of food safety.
Interesting. I
You
don't know a
can't
lot
trade
about
Cargill.
meat or any industrial food
Yeah,
products.
you can't trade Cargill. It's not possible. It's privately held. It's not publicly traded. But Yum C, which is KFC in China, which is huge. If anybody's ever been to China, KFC is like their McDonald's. It's the big thing
Oh my
there.
god, I know.
There's a KFC everywhere in China. Um, KFC is running out of chicken in China. They cannot keep up on the levels. And Cargill is the one that has the exclusive rights to providing meatless chicken to Yum C.
Why is there
It's
a
that
crisis in the? Go ahead.
it's that level of innovation that drives it forward. The demand mixed with the need, right? So because COVID has eliminated meat production and affected that supply chain, beyond become our meatless meat becomes a new staple.
But isn't it crazy? Like, I mean, I feel like I'm really excited about the next. I mean, it's horrible that this shit happened, but I think it's gonna be really exciting in these next few years. Like, really exciting.
I agree. Innovation is going to move very fast, and we've cut a lot of red tape. How does COVID eliminate the meat production? So when you look at the U.S. right now, meat supply chains are closing down because typically meat plants have a lot of risk for transfer of bacteria. You've got blood, you've got meat, you've got human to human contact, you've got meat animal to human contact. It's not a sanitary industry, and so a lot of the meat plants are out there saying we need to close down out of risk of this being a spread onto food products. It's a serious issue. We don't want people to get COVID from eating meat. We don't want people working the plants to get COVID from working in these plants. We don't want that to happen.
Wait. I thought there's no evidence that it goes to meat, to food. I thought it was just that typically meat plants, everybody's on top of each other, and it would just.
So there is still surface contact. So COVID definitely sticks to surface contact for up to 48 hours. There's some studies that have shown longer, right? So we saw that with cardboard, metal, not so much, but cardboard, definitely meat. If you can transfer it from animal to human and human to human, then there is a time frame that the disease can spread from surface contact to surface contact. So it can transfer from a meat product. If somebody coughs or sneezes on a meat line and that meat makes it to market within 48 hours, especially after it's been refrigerated, like, yep, it's possible.
But it wouldn't matter if you fucking fried the surface of that thing because you
Right.
basically
Not the,
disinfected it
not
by
the,
cooking it,
but not the food handler who touches it raw.
but not the food handler. And if you touch it raw and you don't wash your hands or the
Right.
package that it was
Right.
wrapped in.
Right.
Okay. All right. I just had to figure that out. So it's not inside the meat. All right. I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're consuming it in the meat, like, oh, I ate it. It's the point of contact, right?
okay. The asymptomatic people are the problem. Absolutely. It's fucking whack. I mean, with the flu, the reason that the flu isn't that big of a deal compared to COVID is because you're only, I think it was like 2 to 3 days, uh, you're symptomatic, like, sorry, it's transmissible before you're sick, right? Isn't it? With influenza?
It varies, but yeah, depending on the strain.
But that's 2 to 3 days compared to fucking a week to
A
two.
week to Yeah, a week or two. Yeah.
What about the other food industries such as fruit and vegetables? Viper says.
Well, the good news and bad news with fruits and vegetables is they're so covered in poison that they're largely insulated from that.
Don't say that. Stop saying that. I know it's true.
From wax coatings to herbicides and pesticides, the amount of poisons that are on vegetables and fruits makes it less of a concern. And also, for the most part, when people have a vegetable or fruit, socially in North America, you are used to washing or peeling that fruit or vegetable. So it becomes less of a concern.
Yeah, I super wash all my vegetables.
That's just, if you were to go to a Caribbean nation, they don't. You would just go grab a banana off a tree and eat it. You would grab an apple off a tree and eat it, right? Like it's a different culture. You would just grab it and eat it because it's from a tree. It's fine, right? It's organic. In North America, we're used to poisoning everything to keep bugs and whatever else off, keeping Monsanto in business, right? So I mean, it's a different thing.
Okay, so could we talk about the industries and where I don't know, can we is it possible to talk about where people are in this cycle without talking about different names?
Yeah. I mean, we can just ballpark the names because we're not going to talk about positions, right? In generalization, we think that these are going to be these guys within this industry. So pick whatever industry you want. We can do it. We can throw out names that fit into these segments.
Okay. So typically I invest in early adopters to late adopters. That's usually where I am. So I think so we can talk about names? Like I think Twitch is right here, right now, right? I think Twitch is a great example of an early adopter to late adoption. Or no? What do you think?
Um. Okay, so are we going to do digital streaming? That's what we're looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start on the far left then. So YouTube was the innovator,
Okay.
right? YouTube came out and said, we are going to let you put your videos on our website and you don't have to pay for the bandwidth. And everybody who was around in the early 90s that remembers that lost their mind.
Yeah, I remember that.
So as you move from there, you go into, okay, well, now you've got created content. Who do we see start to develop this into other vehicles? And I think this is where you start to see Twitch come into play. It wasn't called Twitch, though. It was called
Justin TV. Right?
Justin TV. Bonus points for Martini Rita because she knows it. Yay. So Justin TV was an early adopter that went, okay, YouTube is kind of cool, but what if we made it everybody in their homes has a channel? Let's do that instead. Let's make it so that you're not a YouTube creator, but everybody has a camera in their home and goes live. And we'll call it Justin TV. So they're an early adopter that took off of the YouTube MySpace kind of movement and went, okay, we are an early adopter.
Okay.
Viper Scout, I think the best way for us to explain it is to actually go through this layout.
Yeah, I
So now that
think
you
so.
have YouTube and Justin TV slash Twitch doing their thing, other industries are going, oh, wait, video creation in a digital space is possible. What if we cut out things like movie theaters and started to develop digital content at a larger scale? What company is that?
Did just plain digital content at a larger
At a
scale?
larger My wife got it. Netflix.
Oh, I was gonna say on demand, but yeah, on demand content.
Yeah, Batman, you nailed it. It's Netflix. It's what if we take this personalized content and instead look at it at a Hollywood studio level? What would that look like? It's Netflix. Then you go from Netflix at the early adopter, late adopter crux into late adoption mainstream, which is Prime Video. Into neophyte, which is Facebook adopts it because Zuckerberg is where neophytes go to live.
I think Netflix is okay. I think digital on demand content isn't in neophyte though. I still think it's in mainstream.
Yeah, so I'm talking like Facebook saw what Twitch did and they came up with Facebook Watch and tried to pay gamers to come over to it. Like I think that's the neophyte movement.
Oh, okay.
This has already been done. We're just gonna buy it and try it.
Can you explain what neophyte is? Like grandmothers,
Like
the last people to adopt something?
the very last people. So when you curse and swear at something, you're like, "Ah, oh, you damn kids." Um, you're a neophyte. Congratulations. When you refuse to adopt something until absolutely everybody has it. So the guy that's still walking around with his Walkman and his tape cassettes, like that's the neophyte.
That's even worse than a neophyte. I wonder if there's anything past a neophyte. I feel like there's people who reject everything.
Yeah, we call them Amish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what this scale looks like. So now you can just start to apply this kind of process to any industry. So people are talking about Slack. Where does Slack fall into this, or where does Zoom fall into this?
I hate Teams. What a ugh. Every product Microsoft creates is just but somehow they still get people to pay for it. It's just amazing to me.
I say the same thing about Apple.
I mean, I get it. The fucking thing just works. I don't have to think about it. It just ugh.
Yeah, but overpriced for half the performance just
I'm
kills me.
fine with that. You know? I've thrown less money at different things. I really have.
What I love about the argument where people are like, Microsoft versus Apple, there are other choices. It's not a two-party system. You Americans need to get over that crap.
I will never get over it. America.
When you've got a choice between McDonald's and Burger King, the answer is clearly In and Out.
Oh, it's so good. Or if you're in Texas, fuck, what is it called? Whataburger. Yum yum
Oh
yum.
yeah, what a burger's good eats.
They make this patty, this patty melt. Don't you dare, millennial. Okay, so let's talk about it in terms of a different industry. What's another industry that would be good to think about?
So biopharmaceutical is what everybody's talking about, right?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, let's pick
Uh,
something you know.
tech. Tech.
Okay, let's do
Uh,
clothing. You understand clothing and fashion? Is that an industry that we can both speak to?
maybe just go for it. Let's see.
Okay, so innovator, you go back to, so here's another book. I'm going to give you guys books because I like to read books. Go get the book Shoe Dog.
Shoe dog. Or are we gonna talk about Steve Madden?
Okay, so Shoe Dog is the story of Nike.
Ah,
Nike is the innovator. Nike showed up and said shoes are not just shoes. Shoes are something, they're symbolic of something greater, they're symbolic of a culture and an ideal. And everybody that saw Nike in its infancy went, "You are insane. You are a nutter. Get out of here with this nonsense. Shoes are just shoes. People buy them to wear them. It doesn't matter what's on them." And Nike went, "Oh, yeah? I'm going to make Air Jordans. Let's see what you have to say about that."
mm-hmm.
Okay? So Nike's the innovator. Everyone went, "Holy crap, people are paying $100 for a pair of shoes that they were paying $30 for before." So who are the early adopters that fall on the coat heel? Direct
Under Armour.
competition. No, Under Armour's much later down the
Much
road.
later, late
Uh,
adoption.
so yeah, they would be late adoption.
Okay.
Um, uh, Even into mainstream, maybe even with Under Armour. I think
Okay.
Fubu comes before Under Armour.
Okay.
Adidas would be the early adopter. So you have Nike as the innovator, Adidas as the early adopter, Fubu as the late adopter, Under Armour as the mainstream.
Where would Reebok and K Swiss come in? Those are
K Swiss would be either Under Armour or Neophyte.
really K Swiss started in the 90s, didn't it?
Fubu came before them.
Wow. Okay.
Fubu laid the stage for K Swiss. Reebok would have been on the coat heels of Adidas.
What about Reebok? Hitch said Reebok.
Yeah, Reebok would have been on the coat heels of Adidas.
Where did I put
Nike was the
Adidas?
first, and then
Reebok.
Adidas was like, "Watch me make money the same way Nike is. I'm going to do the same thing." And then Reebok was like, "Well, there's room for one more."
Yeah.
Puma's European. I don't recognize them as an entity.
I don't recognize it. How elitist of you. Champion? That shit's like neophyte. That was a long time ago. I mean, that's a really recent. This is a fun game. I like this. Hey, Nart. I know, I suck at art. Skechers? I don't remember when that was. I feel like Skechers was the 90s. Late adoption?
Late adoption. Yeah, yeah.
Yay, I get
Skechers
one
would have been.
right.
So again, what you need, so you have to take this chain that we're building of adoption into account alongside Laszlo's hierarchy, right? So you don't play an industry out on this chain until you know that you're on that stage of the hierarchy. So we're talking about sneakers right now. That doesn't fall into one or two, right? Like this is not, people are not looking to how they can afford their next pair of Air Jordans when they're worried about dying from COVID.
Right. So you have to combine this with the pyramid. Nice.
I love that. I love that enlightenment moment where everybody just opens their eyes. They're like, "Oh, I get it. That half hour we spent talking about that stupid pyramid is relevant.
It's
Absolutely.
relevant.
That
Oh.
pyramid is step one. Then cycle of innovation is step two.
Ah. Okay.
Hopefully, we are blowing mine.
Are we saying Laszlo? What is the right word then? Am I saying? I'm probably
Maslow.
me saying wrong.
Maslow.
What is it? How do you spell it? Maslow. He's probably saying Maslow, and I'm saying Laszlo because I'm not hearing it through his fucking accent.
Yeah, no, I keep cutting out at the start of it because whenever I say Maslow, it's at the start of my Maslow, not Laz, Maz, like Mighty Mouse.
You know, it's okay. I'm like the dumbest smart person you know.
Lulu is a different industry.
I think Lulu is like. Wait, Lulu is not sneakers. I mean, well,
Lulu defined an industry. They are an innovator.
premium yoga shit is their industry.
Lulu went. Women's fitness is an industry all to itself, and the entire world said, "Screw you. We have Nike. You'll never survive." And Lulu went, "Watch me, bitch."
Watch me, bitch. Watch me. Oh my god, W knows how to meme.
So one that is in the market right now that is very clearly an innovator, and I know Hitch is going to go all fangirl on this, is Peloton. They are an innovator.
What is the name of the industry? Connected fitness equipment.
Yeah, I think it is the first one to recognize that any industry that is currently operating on you pay us a monthly fee to show up at a building somewhere else is going to die, and instead you pay us a monthly fee and you get to do it from home.
Ah, fuck. I fucked this up.
Lol.
Shut up. Shut up. I fucked this up. Holy shit. I fucked it. Okay, we're good. We're fine. Okay, so new industry. Industry. Fucking
Peloton's bigger
jump
than
now.
that. People are thinking too small when they say they're going to kill the traditional gym. They are going to kill the concept of you must go somewhere else to do something that you are now capable through internet and 5G and all that fun stuff that you can do from home. So the early adopter is Peloton. The next iteration that we see in this is movie theaters dying, and the stay-at-home movie theater is now a reality. So you're going to see the 8K television and the direct from theater releases that we're seeing. Like Scooby-Doo comes out today. It's not going to theaters. They've decided it's not going there. It's just going to come right into your home. And then I'm not sure what comes in between yet because we're not there, but I know Facebook will be at the end.
I know Facebook will be at the end.
Zuckerberg will want his piece. And
Fucking Facebook. I will literally delete Giphy.
And the interesting with that is Facebook, for those people that like Warren Buffett are like, well, I just want to buy this and hold this forever. You always know Facebook is going to show up for their piece.
I mean, it doesn't mean that just because you're a late adopter that you can't make money, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's exactly right. We are not saying that they don't make money. We're just saying they're the last of the game.
but for me, I think the distinction for me is companies that bridge the gap into different stages are highly profitable. I think that's where my edge is. I did not know you were an artist. Would you agree or disagree with that statement, Millennial?
Sorry, what was it again? You have to speak to me as though I were a child.
Why?
I can't quite grasp it this many beers in.
Oh, good. You're drinking too. All right. Drinking and finance. Let's go.
But then
I
again, what's the point of having fuck you money if you never say fuck you?
thank you for the
Jeff
16-month
Bezos gifted a
resub.
J18 a subscription. This sub brought to you by Jeff Bezos' redneck cousin Jethro Bezos.
Redneck cousin Jethro Bezos. Nice. Cheers. Thank you, AJ. I appreciate you. Guinness Gang. Absolutely. Okay, so I think companies that bridge the gap from one stage of growth to the other, I think is where my edge is. Because they can be highly profitable.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that because you're trading on a 5 to 10 year scale, right? So if you're willing to be a trader like Buffett and Martini, where you're trading on the decade, I think that that's a good place to be. If you're somebody who is a day trader, I don't know how you do it, because you would have to be so dialed into both of these at such a macro level, it would be insane. Which is why I ultimately think that day traders in many ways are lucky to a large extent because you can't grasp this at the global scale that we're at. Which is why I've moved to quarterly trading because I think that to trade on the quarter is actually the fastest that you can trade with actual insight into cultural psychology. People just take longer to react.
Uh-oh. He's switched to caps. Something happened. Why do I have to time out Hitch? What did he fucking do?
I timed them out.
Why? The giggles? Did someone pay points to do it?
I paid points.
You pay point? Oh yeah, he's a mod. You can't do it. I have to do it.
It was still worth it.
Get fucked.
He's about to hop in Discord here and give me.
Yeah, I know he's gonna overrule you. Hitch is so angry. I can fucking hear him right now. Like I can't take this. I have to take a break.
You do have to remod him afterwards. I think that takes his sword.
Holy shit! I took his sword away. Oh, that's a somebody play fatality. That's what happened.
Yeah, my daughter dropped my...
Play the GTA wasted sound. Yeah, absolutely, bro.
My daughter dropped
That clip. Oh, it's the best clip ever. Okay. Yeah. So for me, when I'm trading on quarterly, like 6 to 18 months, my strength is trading on Laszlo's hierarchy and understanding which step. of that hierarchy we're at.
Okay.
That's how you
Okay.
trade on the quarter, is using that hierarchy of where are we on the hierarchy right now, and are we going to take a step up or step back on the next quarter? Trade on that. That's where you're going to see that success on the short term. On the long term, I think you need to evolve and understand this innovation cycle and pair that with the hierarchy. Before any of you ask, where does TA play into this? It doesn't.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree a wee bit. But you tell me if this is TA. To confirm my thesis, I just go and look at the weekly chart and I just ask myself, is it going up?
So right now, with the Fed throwing money at everything, it's not reflective of cultural psychology. It's reflective of Papa Powell printing money. So for me, what I do something similar where I go into the social feeds and track sentiment on it. Do people have a positive inclination towards what's happening or a negative inclination towards it?
If you made it all the way here, that means you win because you did your due diligence. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Please go to my Twitch channel, subscribe, and like. Love you guys. Bye.